2023. It is 6:30 p.m. Stand and salute the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, it is hereby announced and shall be entered into the minutes of this meeting that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by the following: posted on the bulletin board of the office of the township clerk, posted on the bulletin boards within the municipal complex, printed in the Home News Tribune on December 30, 2022, posted on the Monroe Township website, and sent to those individuals who have requested personal notice. Can you take the roll?
Ms. Polidoro? Here. Mr. Rothman?
Here.
Mr. Riggs?
Here.
Ms. Brodsky? Here. Mr. McGowan?
Here.
Mr. Patel?
Here.
Ms. Qureshi? Councilman Banzora?
Here.
Mr. Patel, Mayor's Representative?
Here.
Chairman Gaffrey?
Here. As Laura indicated, the meetings from last month's, the minutes from last month's meeting are not yet prepared. So I'm going to ask for a motion to carry the minutes until next month. Do I hear a motion? Second. Minutes are so moved to next month.
Voice vote?
Oh, we're going to take a voice vote on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Okay, this evening we have two applications, but before I begin, I just want to let everybody know the microphones are very sensitive. So if you could keep down any side conversations, it'll allow the record to be cleaner when it's reviewed. The applications tonight, one is carried from last month, and that is PB 125523, Primavera Real Estate Holdings, LLC. Mr. Hambro?
Thank you. Mr. Chairman.
Is that working? Good. Sounds like it is. Just one quick correction. It's Primavera, I guess, would be Italian, whatever it is. Primavera Real Estate Holdings, LLC. It's a continuation of the hearing from last month. And so in the interim between the last time we were here, we submitted revised plans, the major components of the revisions, and we'll have our architect, Mr. Katarinikia. Did I get that right, Ben? Okay. Talk to you about the plan revisions, which there were concerns from some of the from the residents nearby about the storage of some of the chemicals that we use in the laboratory testing process that we do inside the facility, which were being stored in what's called a secure-all shed, which was located right behind the building on a raised concrete area. So that's now been, as part of the revisions, that's been moved internally inside the storage area within the building. And so that was a major component that it seemed like most of the residents who had issues, many of them were suggesting that. So trying to be good neighbors, we went and moved everything inside. So that will hopefully allay those concerns. We also made some changes, updated the plans, because during the course of the hearing, we agreed to do certain things. Those have been updated. We'll go through what those revisions are. And we also submitted There was a certification and a bunch of exhibits attaching the licenses, the inspections, fire inspections, which are done annually. STIAVO, we provided that as well as some of the, excuse me, some of the registrations with the, sorry about that, with the DEP and EPA, as well as for, I think it's FDA as well. There was a package that had 3 exhibits attached to the certification, which were provided to the board. We can go through those. I'll have, if you'd like, we can have Mr. Grossman go through those exhibits as well. So with that having been said, I would like to proceed, and I'll bring, unless you have a
Before you
question.
proceed, Mika or Mark, do you have any questions or comments?
Not at this moment.
Not at this moment.
Okay, proceed with
Okay.
the first witness.
Mr. Grossman, Steve, if you would
Okay.
come up again.
Grossman, you were sworn in at the last hearing.
Yes.
You understand you're still under oath?
Yes.
Proceed.
Okay. So, Steve, if you could, let's just go through a couple of quick questions here. This facility has been operating for 7 years or so?
Correct.
Okay. And are there going to be any changes to what the operations consist of?
No.
Okay. And so, have there been any violations? I was asserting that there were representing that there were certain agencies that have some type of jurisdiction that you have certain registrations with.
Right. Correct.
Among them was, I believe, EPA.
Right.
Is there also, who else do you have? We provided some licenses. I can.
Right. The license is DEA, EPA, the FDA.
Food and Drug Administration.
Right. Controlled substances.
And that's because you
New
test
Jersey
them.
and correct.
Okay. And New Jersey as well? What New Jersey agencies?
Yeah, there's the New Jersey for the DEA
The DEP.
registration. Right.
Right.
It's kind of
Okay.
New Jersey controlled substances.
Okay. All right. In terms of changes that have been made to what was described last time as the operation, what's the proposal now? We're going to move the secure oil shed, which was where,
So the Securol shed was right outside E1. So we've agreed to move it inside inside the warehouse because there were concerns from the community.
okay. And so that secure oil shed is going to be located inside, and then, was it Waste Management or one of those licensed companies is going to?
Right, the license company.
Right.
I mean, that won't change at all. It'll be the same company.
Right. And we provided copies of some of the information about who your contracts with and what they collect and what they pick up.
Correct. I do want to make a point that I said I would go back and check. So they don't transfer. So I went back and checked. They don't transfer any chemicals. They take the whole drum.
Okay.
So I wanted to make that.
Right. Okay. Anything else you want to add about the operation, which you feel
Like I
was
said,
questioned? There were questions last time that need to
Right.
be addressed. Go ahead.
right. Like I said, the operation itself isn't going to change. We're just moving some equipment that's currently in E1 into E2 to give us a little more space. But the type of testing that we're doing is not going to change.
And that's all pharmaceutical industry.
Correct.
Contract
Right.
research organization.
Correct. We do testing for the analytical testing for the pharmaceutical industry.
Okay. I have no further questions for Mr. Grossman.
Mika, do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Mark?
Not at this time, no.
I actually have some questions, and Mr. Grossman, thank you. I wasn't personally present at the hearing last month, but I did watch the full video, and I did see concerns raised by certain of the residents of Monroe
Yes.
concerning the chemicals and biological agents and so forth that you use.
Right.
Are you familiar with the term MSDS, Material Safety Data Sheet?
Yes.
And you do maintain MSDSs for each and every substance that you use?
That's correct.
And if any concerned residents wanted to see what you use, would you make them available?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep.
And describe for the board exactly what an MSDS sheet is.
So a safety data sheet basically tells you about the chemical, any where they need, how they need to be stored. Are there any hazards to the chemical? Basically, a full description going over, and there are different types of hazards. So the SDS, the safety data sheet, will tell you that. So we basically follow the SDS.
Okay, and who regulates your handling and availability of the MSDS sheets?
So our safety officer takes care of that.
But what is the oversight board?
So there's a safety committee within the organization.
Is there a OSHA requirement?
Yes, as far as outside of the company, yes, OSHA. So we have to follow OSHA regulations, NJDP regulations, and so forth.
And have you ever been cited by OSHA or NJDP?
No, we haven't had any issues with NJDP. So in 7 years.
Anybody else on the board? Thank you.
So our next witness, and we did bring two other folks because there were some questions of concern. One is the safety officer, who, if there were questions, we could have come up and try to answer those questions, as well as a chemist from the company as well, the lead chemist. Our next witness is our architect, Ben Katarinikia.
I'm going to call you Ben also. You understand that you testified at the last hearing, that you're still under oath?
I do.
Thank you.
Good evening. So can you describe for the board, you brought a revised plan, we submitted revised plans. Can you go through the highlights of what has changed or what was revised as a result of the comments and concerns expressed at the last meeting, and including from the board's engineer and planner?
Absolutely. Can I?
May want to take the mic.
Take a microphone.
We marked a number of items last time, so if you're using the same items,
This is a revised plan.
well, then we give it a new number,
I don't remember off the top of my.
A7.
A7?
A7, with today's date.
Thank you. And just for the record, what are we calling this? This is A7 is the site plan, cover sheet site?
Yes, site plan cover sheet.
Okay, and it's dated, what's the date on it?
8-4.
8/4?
Yeah, A4.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, primarily, we went through the comments generated by the engineer and the planner, and we just clarified a lot of things. We showed that we were going to firstly add additional handicap parking spaces across the street where the parking areas are presently. We're going to restripe them. It was brought up in the current letter that we received that the spaces were supposed to be 10 by 20. These spaces are actually 9 by 18. That's an existing condition. We were just going to restripe them and make them handicap parking stalls. We are going to introduce a new sidewalk on this area, primarily to get the curb cuts up from the handicap and restripe going across the street over to the sidewalk that goes into building E1, which is the handicap entrance into the building. We located lights on the rear of the building. There is an existing 5 lights on the rear of the building. We also have pictures of them in the plans also.
So when you say the building, you're talking about the E1 building?
E1,
Okay.
correct.
And in terms of the, you said you were going to make some changes regarding the ADA spaces, and we're going to do some surveying work in that area
Yes.
as requested by Mr. Zimowitz.
Yes, we agreed that we will have a survey done of the area that we're putting a new sidewalk, as well as between the two buildings, to show the grades and show that we are compliant with all ADA requirements.
We are going to provide a new hatched crosswalk between building E1 and E2. We indicated a new 25-foot by 11-foot dumpster pad. The dumpster pad is actually existing. The pad and curbing is existing. It was abandoned at some point and the walls were taken down. So what we're going to do is erect new walls around it, put gates up in front of it, and just use it as their dumpster because they don't really have a dumpster enclosure right now. So clean up the site. We did locate some evergreen shrubs around both the dumpster enclosure as well as in front of the new HVAC units that'll go outside of E2 as a screening for the residents behind it. We located the lighting that's going to go on E2, and we indicated a lighting plan and a lighting throw area. On sheet SK3, it shows the lights and the throw of them. It was brought up to us in the meeting we had with the township that they would like to have a light on E1 from the entrance going out, so it floods that area with light, which we are in agreement to put on. So we will add an additional light on E1, so it's a well-lit area going across.
Okay.
And I believe...
So one of the main items that we're also moving the Securall shed inside. You want to show the board where internally it's going to be located?
Yes, the Securall shed right now is in this location right behind against the building of E1. We'll be actually locating the Securall shed into the warehouse, which is in this area over here.
Okay. And we're going to have two areas for trucks for loading deliveries?
Yes, there's a raised platform right now in back, right here, which was a delivery area. And in our last testimony, it was Steve indicated that most of their deliveries come in box trucks. They very rarely, once in a while, get semi. So we actually have semi delivery on this side, which a semi can back up to a dock leveler. This side is going to be primarily for the loading and unloading of the box trucks, which come from FedEx and UPS and et cetera, which I think we discussed today about possibly we'll get rid of these 3 parking spaces in that area and just locate it as a delivery area.
Okay, that was one of the comments from Ms. Apte's report, correct? Item I don't remember which item it was. Yeah, so that way we'll avoid conflict between the any kind of delivery and parking of any cars in that area, correct? Okay. Okay. And we're going to comply with the comments in the in both the engineers and the planners' reports.
Yes.
And I think one of the comments also we've received was to have some additional trees to be planted as a buffer behind the building and between the Rossmore community and
Yes.
even though there's some significant woods, we will work with the board engineer to do some additional plantings
Yes.
at his instruction.
Correct.
Okay. I don't believe I have any further questions. I think that sums it up.
Thank you. Any questions from our planner?
Mr. Ben, could you just repeat, what did you say you're going to do about the loading?
There's 2 loading spaces right now
Yeah.
on the building. There's a raised platform right here in the center, and then there's a dock door over here. So basically, we have 2 loading areas. So this one, we're going to designate more for the box truck deliveries because it's smaller.
Okay.
And then this one's going to be for semi deliveries where they got to back in and then pull out.
Okay. And that will also be used for, I guess, maintenance or access to the Securall,
That's
right?
correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And in terms of that second loading space, that doesn't by any chance reduce the 12 parking spaces that are in the rear?
It's going to reduce them by, well, we had this discussion today. There's 3 parking spaces back there. I was going to designate 1 parking space just for a box truck to back into.
Okay.
But we talked about, we do have ample spaces where we can just eliminate the 3 parking spaces and just make it a delivery zone.
So I'm sorry. So there are 12 regular car parking spaces there that are getting reduced to 11 now
Yeah.
with the box truck parking
Yes.
space there.
Yes.
Okay. And that still meets your overall parking requirement.
Yes.
Is that correct? Do you agree to, there were some comments regarding, showing us a little more lighting. I think you testified to in our review letter about adding some more landscaping around the dumpster pad and all. Are you in agreement on providing
Yes.
that?
Yes.
I think those were my comments. Thank you.
Mr. Rasamowitz?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. They clarified a lot of issues from the last meeting on their plans. I just asked for a little bit more. You received my August 21st, 2023 review
Yes, we
letter.
did.
Do you agree to meet all the comments in that review letter?
Let me just pull it out. Yes.
So there's some minor details that I'm asking for, a little bit more details on the plan, show some restriping on the plan. A couple things I do want to bring up. The dumpster. You don't show it as an enclosure. You're saying an enclosure, but it's only on 3 sides.
It's
what
going to
is
have
across
gates
the
in front. I'll give you details on the gates and how it's going to close. So it's going to be enclosed.
So
yes.
you'll be providing gates, and those
Yes.
details will be provided on the
Yes.
plan. Thank you. And let's see, as far as the existing buffer around the rear of the building, the existing stand of trees, you're agreeable to provide some supplemental evergreen plantings in areas that may be some gaps in the trees, especially when the
Absolutely.
leaves are off the trees.
Yes.
And you're agreeable to look at that in the field to meet and
Certainly.
Yes.
review that in the field and add additional plantings.
Yep.
Thank you. You'll provide light shields as necessary to
Absolutely.
keep the light from going off-site. And
We also actually provided the light that's going to be near the HVAC systems, which is more of a service light. We're going to actually switch that light, so it's not on all the time. It's just going to be a switch light. When they need it, they'll turn it on. That's all.
okay. You've already mentioned you're going to provide some survey information to demonstrate the ADA compliancy, which is pretty typical. Mr. Chairman, I have nothing else to add. They did do a good job cleaning up their plans since the last meeting, and there's still a few items. I have no problem with that being a condition of any approval, should the board choose to approve.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, could you clarify for me, you're moving the shed internally. Did that require any change in the footprint to the original building?
No.
Okay.
Mr. Vanzera?
Sir, if I remember from last month, the secure all shed is for storing the waste material, correct?
Correct.
And the waste material itself was in some large drums, is that right? So now, how are we going to get the drums to have them removed from the inside of the building? How is that done now? Is that going to be just rolled out somewhere and there's another truck waiting for it? Is there a transfer of the liquids inside the building? How exactly does it work? You may have explained this last time, but bear with me. Yeah?
So they basically will have a cart. They'll come in and take the whole barrel out to their truck and then have a lift gate and they'll put it in the truck.
Okay.
So there'll be no transfer of,
Okay.
waste.
So there's no, it doesn't go from one to, you take out the whole,
take out the whole, correct.
okay. And that would be done immediately adjacent to the building, I assume?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Question regarding the relocating this inside is approved and dealt with the fire brigade, fire department's codes and everything. How far from this is your working staff or employees' safety and all that?
So basically, it's in the warehouse. So The employees work in the lab, which is outside of the warehouse.
So in case of any hazardous chemicals, a vapor or anything, they will not be affected?
Correct.
Thank you.
Ben, can you like flip to that page and show, like the floor plan, I guess, shows the, which page is that? Okay.
So the warehouse is in this section right here. And the employees and labs are all over here. And it's actually separated with a concrete demising wall, so it's pretty segregated.
And that's where the loading dock is also located? And so the trucks are going to pull in, but a loading dock back up, and then they'll
Correct.
transfer the drums from the Securo.
So all the safety measures are taken care when you are putting inside?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sir, OSHA's okay with that, having it inside?
Yes, the Securol is specifically designed for that purpose.
You need any additional ventilation or anything in order that when it does come time for someone to remove it, they don't get hit with a blast of, waste smell or?
Yes, there's some ventilation.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Just one, Mr. Resmowitz, you are happy with what you're hearing so far?
I'm never happy.
Are you happier than where you were last time?
Mr. Chairman, yes, they've addressed a lot of the items that I brought up at the end of the last meeting. And I would just add one more thing onto the councilman's comments. Construction permits, any construction permits that you'll be needing for the Securol, you're obviously agreeable to that?
Surely.
Yes.
So there will be some permits, and there's might be venting involved, but whatever's needed from construction, you're agreeable to. But putting that aside, I'm comfortable with the few items as far as the engineering plan goes that they have to clean up on there. That typical for a condition of any approval should the board choose to approve.
Thank you. Is it, if I may, Ms. Apte pointed out something at our last meeting when she asked if there were certificates or any kind of correspondence that would come from NJDEP or OSHA. I'm assuming you run a very clean shop from what I'm hearing. However, if there are any correspondence from NJDEP, I would like a copy of that to be sent to our township so we are aware of it. And who would be the right person? Would it be the township clerk? Huh?
Planning board.
Planning department, I think it'll be sent to Ms. Zaleski, and then she can, distribute it accordingly.
Great. Is that agreeable?
Yes.
Thank you.
And just to be clear, these are the same Securol storage systems that we talked about at the last meeting? Because I vaguely remember somebody mentioning that they were meant for outside storage at the time.
They can go inside, but they're meant so like the
Microphone, please.
Microphone.
Yes. So they're also designed to be outside because they're hurricane resistant. So there's no, they can't tip over basically.
Got it.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, if I can, just to update and to go on the record with the board, at the last meeting, the applicant had not yet submitted a application for water service within the building. They have since done that, and while it's in its preliminary stages and there are a number of open issues that we are working with them on, they have made a commitment to go ahead and fulfill all of the obligations associated with that water application moving forward before a CO is issued.
Thank you. Any further witnesses?
Yeah, just there were a couple of some of the outside agency. That was one of your comments last time, Mr. Resmowitz, was submissions. You have a list in your report. So we did submit to the Utility Department, Shade Tree Commission, Environmental Commission, Police Department, Fire, EMS, and we have gotten responses with no interest from the police, the fire, and EMS. I don't know whether MTUD is also encompassed in the water and sewer. I guess it would be.
It is.
So, just wanted to supplement that information.
Any further witnesses?
That's it.
Any further questions before we open up to the public?
Not a question, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to mention, as you did, that I also was not here for the July meeting, but did watch the full video and looked at all the exhibits, and I'm up to speed on all the testimony. Thanks.
Okay. Anybody from the public wish to be heard? Okay. You can come up to the...
I believe that you testified at the hearing. So you understand that you're still under oath?
Okay, hold the microphone to you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
May I take care?
State your full name and spell your last name.
It's Joyce Clowley, Cloughly. Right. Right. So I was very pleased to read paragraph number 7 in Steve Grossman's certification statement that the waste storage shed will be relocated inside building E1, particularly in light of the 13 tornado touchdowns that have occurred in New Jersey in 2023. So those can happen in addition to hurricanes. So as we know from trailer parks, buildings that seemingly won't suddenly fly into the air and tip over can fly into the air and tip over. So I'm not being facetious. I am happy that it's going inside. Sorry. In regard to paragraph number 2, since the proposed operations in building E2 will be the same as those in building E1, will an equal amount of hazardous waste result?
No. Microphone. Here, why don't you take this one?
Yeah, it's really the same type. There won't be as much because it's much less equipment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Same operation, but less equipment.
Correct.
Same type
less
of
testing.
Yeah. Okay.
Than you want.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Okay. So then, where will this additional hazardous waste that is produced be stored? Will that also go in E1?
Correct.
So how is it being transported from E2 to E1? Is it by hand, by cart, by vehicle?
Right, so we discussed this actually. So we were thinking we would enclosed cart. So we go from an enclosed cart into E1 into the secure hall.
Okay, it's like a human pushed cart
Correct.
type thing?
Correct.
And that new walkway would accommodate
Correct.
that? Okay. Just curious.
Sure.
Let's see. According to paragraph number 8, this is from your certification statement, medical type waste is being generated and stored in 4.5 cubic foot boxes, and these are labeled biohazard materials. Where are they currently being stored?
So they're in the laboratory.
Oh, they don't leave the laboratory to
They're in the
the
laboratory.
shed?
Correct.
Oh, okay. And then, so this increased amount of biohazardous materials that will be produced, they will be produced now in E2. So will they be also stored in the laboratory in E2?
Right. So there won't really be an increase. It's just kind of a movement into E2.
And that's where they would be
Right.
stored then?
Correct.
Okay, in these 4.5
Correct.
boxes. Okie doke. Okie doke. I just have one more. Paragraph 11 says, I'm going to read from it, no substances are emitted into the atmosphere in quantities that are injurious to humans, plant or animal life, or to property, which will interfere unreasonably with the comfortable enjoyment of life and property anywhere in the municipality. And that sounds nice, but I would suggest as a good neighbor policy, or tip of the hat, that there be periodic air sampling that occurs near where these chemicals are being discharged. I can see maybe an air sampler on the roof next to where a fume hood perhaps is being discharged.
So
Just to make sure that your filtration is up to snuff, as you said.
Right, so they
would
get
be.
inspected and serviced.
Right.
So I don't know. I can't commit to that. I don't know how that would be done.
Maybe the EPA could be involved and put up an air sampler on the roof next to where these chemicals are being discharged. Because according to that statement, these substances are being emitted into the atmosphere in quantity, but not in quantities injurious. But just to, make sure to verify compliance, it would be great, if that were something that could happen.
Yeah. So that paragraph, it tracks what's in your performance standards ordinance. That's why that paragraph was in there. So
It's a nice
just basically
paragraph.
compliance. There, as far as I understand it, and you heard him say that there's nothing that's emitted into the atmosphere.
Oh, it does say that it is emitted because no substances are emitted into the atmosphere in quantities that are unreasonable. So that means that some are being emitted.
No, it doesn't. I don't want to argue with you, but it's a standard that the language in that standard was put into that paragraph. But it doesn't necessarily mean that there's anything that's being emitted.
Well, I'm
According
sorry.
to what you were saying before when I was listening to you, is that there are vents within, for the workers
Oh, of course.
when they're doing
That's a
their
fume
work. But those are self-contained.
And they
don't.
draw the, I'm sorry, I'm
Well,
interrupting you.
why don't you talk about that?
So there's charcoal, there's filter. So again, like Steve said, that's basically just the wording from the standard.
Okay. But wording or no, I mean, if we had an air sampler put next to where these hazardous materials are discharged, it would be good peace of mind to know that it's within allowable limits, in my mind. And I think it would reassure the neighbors.
I think the bottom line is there are certain regulations and standards that we will comply with. That's what the EPA, DEP, whomever. We'll comply with their standards. We're not doing,
Yeah, I'm sure you're
Additional-
being,
we have no idea what it is that you're talking about here in terms of what the cost is, what kind of inspections are required. I mean, we'll comply with whatever the EPA and the DEP require.
maybe we could ask the DEP what is required, or
You certainly will cooperate with you if you have questions that you want to involve the DEP, that's fine.
Okay. No, I appreciate, the effort you've put into this to address our concerns. I appreciate that the shed is going inside. I appreciate, hopefully, arborvitae are going to be planted so that, provides some, plant filtration as well. And I don't want to get on your case, but it would just be nice to know, hey, they're within allowable limits, that there's very little being discharged.
If there's any testing, air testing that DEP does, we're happy to share that if they ask us to do it.
Yeah.
If you want to ask them to do it and they come and do it, we're happy to share
I
that.
don't know, as an individual, can I do that? Can the planning board do that?
There's a DEP hotline you can call.
Okay. So that's a possibility then. Okay.
That is it.
All right, well, those are my concerns.
That is the best idea, because the DEP can say what would be appropriate standards. The DEP would establish what's appropriate to establish that, so yes.
Thank you, gentlemen.
You're
Thank
quite
you very
welcome.
much.
Thank you.
Anybody else from the public wish to be heard?
Thank you.
I recognize you from the last meeting. You were sworn in at that time.
Yes.
You understand that you're still under oath?
Yes. Okay.
Would you state your full name and spell your last name?
No.
Can you hear me? My name is Adrian Rogove. And as I stated at the last hearing, my mother is a resident on Yarborough Way and received notice of the application. So like Ms. Stated, I too am pleased that the storage shed has been moved inside because we had a lot of concerns about that. As I noted in my comments in the previous hearing, my concerns related to the chemicals and the proper handling and disposal of them. And I guess I have a few questions. And I noticed in the, I think it was in one of the resolutions that was passed by this board when the applicant initially came into the matrix development, which noted that there was a GLP FDA inspection that was performed in December of 2017 that refers to good laboratory practices. And then the FDA performed an inspection in May of 2018, a GMP FDA inspection, which I have to tell you, I don't know what that is exactly, but my question is, have there been any subsequent FDA inspections? Mr. Grossman, in paragraph 5 of his application, noted that Primera is registered with the DEA and the FDA, and he attached the registrations and mentioned that the company is subject to inspections from other local, state, and federal agencies, such as OSHA, DEA, EPA, and FDA, DEP, and the New Jersey DCA. And so my next question would be, have there been inspections by those agencies? Are there reporting requirements that the company is required to make with those agencies concerning the chemicals that are being handled on the property? And so there was a mention in the record that the company has a stellar record with the FDA. So I'm wondering what that record is other than the initial inspection. And then I want to note that the hauling companies or the waste companies that are mentioned, and I think it's Exhibit C to Mr. Grossman's certification. He mentions that Waste Management is one of the contractors that picks up the hazardous waste, as well as Active Environmental Technologies. I don't see any certificates or any information from Waste Management at all. And the Active, the Active Environmental Technologies appears to be a billing company, and the contractor is called ACV Enviro, which according to it's a blank sheet. It's the last document in Exhibit C. It's called a material profile sheet. It's an unsigned form, but ACV is a New York company, so they may or may not be licensed in New Jersey, but that materials profile sheet indicates that this is EPA hazardous waste that is being handled and not state waste. So I'd like to get some information on what has been the involvement of the EPA and the DEP, and have there been audits? Are they ongoing? Is that required?
So I'll talk to some of those. I may ask Darla to come and speak to a couple others. So we're audited by the FDA. They come in. 2017 was not the Cranberry site. 2018 was the Cranberry site. So I think that answers that question. ACV, that's who Waste Management uses. So we have a contract with Waste Management. So we do have a contract with them. Yep. So that's how we work with that. The DEA came in when we first set up the system to inspect, and they were okay with the way we had things set up. What else?
Microphone?
Yeah. I wasn't quite clear what your question was about the DEP versus the EPA.
Mr. Grossman said in his certification that the operations are subject to inspection from all of these federal agencies, including the EPA and the others that are mentioned in his certification. So my question is, do they make inspections? Are there requirements? Are there audits? Is there anything that the company has to submit to these agencies to demonstrate compliance, regulatory compliance, since these are federally regulated wastes?
Right. So the EPA and the NJDEP, they can come in and inspect us. As far as I know, they have not. Right? Yeah. So we have to register with them. We have an EPA number. We fill out the appropriate forms. So then for the waste, give that, and then the waste company takes care of it from that point on. So they're licensed as waste disposal companies.
Okay. Anyone else from the public wish to be heard? Hearing none, I'll close the public portion of this application. Anybody else from the board or the professionals wish to be heard? Is there any motion other than a motion to?
I'll make a motion to approve because compared to last month, we not only have a relatively happier engineer, but you have done a lot of work which had not been done. So I'm glad to see you did that. You will be sending, so I'm motioning to approve it subject to any of the August 21st letter from our engineer that still needs to be finished. And also that any comments from NJDEP or others is then forwarded to planning board. So that's my motion.
Is there a second on that?
I second.
Then we can take the vote.
Ms. Polidoro?
Yes.
Mr. Rothman?
Yes.
Mr. Riggs?
Yes.
Ms. Brodsky?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Patel?
Yes.
Councilman Van Zora?
Yes.
Mr. Patel, Mayor's Representative?
Yes.
Chairman Gaffrey?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time and working with us through this. Thank you, Mr. Stroin and Ms. Apte and Mr. Razumowitz.
Sorry. Thank you.
This is awesome. Board. I'll just announce the application. It's PB 1258-23, Om Shri Balaji Temple and Cultural Center, Inc.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Good evening. My name is Keith Lachlan. I'm an attorney with the law firm Inglesino Taylor. It's my pleasure to be here tonight. I represent the applicant, Om Shri Sai Balaji Temple and Cultural Center. And tonight we are here with an amended application. The applicant previously received final site plan approval from the planning board on January 20th, 2016, with 6 units for our priest quarters. Tonight, the applicant seeks to amend the previously approved but never built priest quarter building. This application proposes to build a 2-story priest quarter building with 12 units and related site improvements. With me tonight is Mr. Medulla on behalf of the temple, who will testify about the need for the amended application and the increase in the number of units. Also with me tonight is Jay Patel of Crest Engineering, who's the applicant's engineer and will testify as to our site plan. We also have Zoda Hay of Hayda Designs. He's the applicant's architect who will testify as to the applicant's architectural plans. And finally, we have Mr. Joseph Layton, the applicant's planner, who will briefly provide some planning testimony in support of this amended application. We've received the planning review memo from your board planner dated August 10th, 2023, as well as the township engineer's review letter dated August 21st, 2023, and are prepared to address and comply with all comments. If I may, I'd like to call our first witness, Mr. Medulla.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Would you, for our record, give us your last name and spell it for us?
Last name is Maddula. The first name is Suryanaraya.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Medulla, and you can have a seat, whatever you're comfortable with. Could you, for the board, just describe what the need is for the amended application, and specifically if you could just address why we're going from, or we're attempting to go from 6 units to the 12 units? If you could just speak into the microphone for the record.
Respected Planning Board Committee, most Hindus worship God in different forms of statues, as you know. Originally, we planned for only 6 statues of God. Each statue requires one specialized priest to perform rituals. Thank you. But due to the diversity of so many Hindus in Monroe Township and within 10 miles radius of the temple, we have decided to include 6 more statues of God to satisfy a lot of communities, especially from northern part of India. So we need 12 priests, and that's the reason we need to build 12 units of priest quarters. I request you to approve the same.
Thank you, Mr. Medulla. So, Mr. Medulla, I just have a few questions for you. First, with regard to the priest quarters, will these priest quarters be open for members of the public, or will this just be limited to the members, to the priests and their families?
They're 100% only for the members of the priests and their families only. No public is allowed into the priest quarters.
Okay. And with regard to the priests and their family members, will they be able and available to use the temple facilities?
Yes, 100%.
Okay. And with regard to our request for 12, will 12 units be sufficient? Obviously, no one can predict the future, but will 12 units be sufficient for what our plans are for the foreseeable future?
Yes. 12 is just enough for us. We don't need any more.
That's all I have of this witness. If the board has any questions. Our project engineer is going to testify next. He'll go through in more detail. Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to call Mr. Jay Patel.
Mr. Patel, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Yes, I do.
And would you tell us your full name and spell your last name?
Sure. Full name is Jayesh Patel. I'm with Crest Engineering, professional engineer and professional planner in state of New Jersey. I'm employed by Crest Engineering, and I'm a principal at the Crest Engineering.
And Mr. Patel, could you just, and you've started to do it, could you just go through your credentials and your licenses just to establish your expertise in engineering?
Yes, as I said, I'm a professional engineer as well as professional planner in state of New Jersey. By profession, I'm a civil engineer. I've done the site plan in the state of New Jersey, testified before numerous planning board as well as zoning boards.
Thank you. Your credentials are accepted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Patel, could you go through, and I know you have brought some exhibits, could you go through the site plan and explain to the board, just from an overall perspective, what we're trying to do here?
Definitely.
And walk them through it. Thank you.
All right, so what I have here is an exhibit. It's called out aerial display, and it is dated 1823.
So this would be A1. A1 with today's date.
All right. What we have shown here is the aerial photography of this site. The site is shown with the yellow outline. There is the site fronts on a Road Hall Road, and there is an intersection with the Road Hall Road. Cranberry South Road, River Road is on the west side of the site. The site currently has an existing building, which is Sri Sai Temple, which has been approved back in year 2016. The total acreage of site is 14.4 acres. It's located within the R30 zone where the public water and sewer is available. Site is known as Lot 2.01, Block 82, and as I said, in 2016, the site was approved with numerous buildings and other site improvements. One of the improvement which you see has been constructed and started in operation in 2022. This is the 20,017 square feet Sri Sai Temple. In the future, as it has been approved, there is going to be connecting lobby will be constructed, and the main temple is going to come on the south side of this existing building. With that said, currently there is an existing driveway that has been constructed coming out from the Road Hall Road, and it's looping around the existing building, and there are 280 parking spaces already constructed. There is a stormwater detention basin is constructed. Numerous bumps around the site has been already constructed, including the lighting and other landscaping within the parking lot. In 2016, there was a approval for constructing a 6-unit parsonage building, which would have been located right on north side of this existing building at the end of this parking lot. And what the applicant is now intending to do is to construct at the same location a similar footprint of the building with a two-story building which will have 12 units for the priest residence. Now, as part of this particular proposal, what I have is a display which is called this site display. I'm going to label A2. This is an enlarged view of the site, of the portion of the site, which shows the existing parking lot where it's looping around on the northern side of the site. This is the proposed building, which is showing the 6 units per floor. There are existing few trees are located on this parking lot at what was approved. What we are also seeing is some additional landscaping that was previously not proposed, but now we are enhancing with this new building. There's going to be also some bollards with the for the pedestrian safety along the proposed sidewalk. There's going to be no change as far as the impervious coverage for this site. What was approved in the 2016 will remain almost same. In the prior approval, the total impervious coverage for the entire site was about 219,710 square feet, and what we have is very significantly lower number, which is 219,350 square feet. With that said, there is not going to be any impact to stormwater facilities has been constructed and serving this site. Now, if we talk about the zoning requirements, what has been approved in the past still, complies, including for this building. Minimum lot area, density, lot width, lot frontage, lot depth, front yard setback, rear yard setback, they all comply. Maximum height, building height for this particular building with the two-story is below 35 feet, which complies with the requirement. Percentage of the building cover will remain 5.15% versus 20% is permitted. Total lot coverage for imperviousness is 35% allowed, and what was approved and what currently will have will be 35%. With that said, there is no variances required as far as the zoning and R30 zone bulk requirements. Regarding the parking, with the future temple coming with which will have 780 seats per the ordinance, there's going to be one space per 3 seats. We need 260 spaces plus the residential use, which will require per ordinance 2.5 spaces per unit. For 12 units, you will need 30 spaces, total 290 spaces, and one space per employee. Anticipated 2 employees, 2 spaces. So these 292 spaces are required. What currently we have is 280 spaces. 12 of those spaces is mandated by the state now, would be converted into the EV station, charging station, and that means when you this 12 spaces, 4 on the northern part of the parking area, 4 in the middle and 4 in the southern part, the 12 parking spaces will be converted into EV charging station. So as per the ordinance, the 12 parking spaces would get 12 additional bonus. That means 280 plus 12 will become 292, which is the required parking spaces. So this will provide the parking space will comply also. So there is no variance required for providing parking spaces. Other site designs, there is no signages proposed for this building. Trash and recycling, there is going to be trash enclosure is provided, which is between 2 handicap spaces shown here. All the residents will walk along this sidewalk, come to this trash enclosure, and they put their trash and any recycling contents in there. There is a private hauler which will pick up the trash and recycling content, who is already doing it for the existing building which we discussed. So the service for trash picking will also be provided for this building. Lighting, the bollard lights, as I said, will be are proposed, which will provide the safety of any pedestrian movement. Regarding any additional lighting that we need for the staircase and for the building perimeter for safety will be also provided. Fencing, there is no additional fencing is proposed for this particular site plan. Landscaping, as you can see, there's numerous mix of ornamental trees, evergreen trees, shade trees, as well as shrubs are provided, including some ground cover. Landscaping for the rest of the site will remain as it has been approved. Utilities, water and sewer are being served to the existing building. They are already constructed along this driveway that's just south of this particular seat, and there is already existing clean out, as well as the water hydrant, fire hydrant, as well as the water service line that has been already constructed, which will supply the water, and sewer will be connected to existing sewer that goes back towards the Cranberry South River Road and connecting to the South Brunswick sewer system. Stormwater, as I said in the previously, there is no need of any additional stormwater system because there is no change in the impervious coverage. Other than the roof drain that will be that has been designed will connect to the existing stormwater system, which will take the stormwater, divert into the existing stormwater infiltration basin. Regarding other permits, no additional outside permits like DEP or DOT or county permits required, since there is no any approval, or there is no improvement that impacts. There are no wetlands within the construction area proposed. FSCD, there has been existing permit in place, which because of this site is still going through the construction phase, we have recently received an extension of that expired SCD permit. So we'll also send out a letter to SCD to see if any minor changes or because of the minor nature of changes, any update to their certification is required. Other than that, we now have received township engineer and planners later. There are very minor comments which we anticipate to, comply with their satisfaction. Any questions?
I don't have any questions. If the board has any questions.
Okay, we'll turn it over to the planner.
Mr. Patel,
Yeah.
thank you for referring to our letter of August 10th.
Correct.
I just have a couple of questions to make the testimony clear on record. As you're aware, the overall approval for this project was done in phases, phase 1 and phase 2.
Correct.
And this is the phase 2 portion. Just to clarify, the phase 2 approval was related to making sure there is public sewer and water availability.
Yes.
To clarify, the sewer will be connected to this South Brunswick, while the water would be connected to Monroe Township?
That is correct. Since it's already constructed and what we are requesting and may have, we can confirm with the applicant also that currently the Monroe Township sewer system may not be available by the time this particular building is constructed. And in order for construction, if you get the approval, we would like to defer the connection to Monroe Township system when the main temple is constructed.
Okay, so as it stands right now, the application has been made to Monroe Township Utility Authority? I would defer to Mr.
As
Stein.
part of the whole complex, when initially the application for the entire, including the previously approved building, we had submitted an application that has been approved, and that's, now because of this modification, we have sent out a set of plan and a cover letter is required for the initial submission. We have not formally made the application yet, but we intend to do it as soon as possible.
Okay, but you have the approval from the other township for the 12 units?
From the other, you mean the
I guess
South
you
Brunswick?
said South Brunswick.
South Brunswick, no. Again, we have the approval for the 6 unit. So I have communicated with them. I have not received any response back yet.
Okay.
So I'm waiting for the response back, and as soon as we get the response, we'll start the application process and whatever it requires to get their approval. Once we get their approval, we'll submit to township, to you, and also MTUD also.
Okay. I would defer to Mr. Stroin if he wants to add
Sure.
to that, because that would be a condition of compliance.
Definitely, I understand.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, Mr. Patel is correct. Back in 2016, there was not any sewer availability from the township at that point. There was water availability. They connected to township water. However, on December 8th, 2016, there was an agreement between the temple and the township that said as soon as Monroe Township's sanitary sewer system is extended to be able to serve the temple, they would connect. That availability is there now, and we want that, and we've got a copy of the agreement, and the actual manhole where they would connect is in Road Hall Row, right next to the temple driveway. So we would expect them to connect and actually utilize Monroe Township's sanitary system for not only the new construction but the existing temple as well.
Thank you, Mr. Stroin. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have additional questions.
Sure.
Continuing on, Mr. Patel, as testified, so on property today, there are 280 spaces, and you would be getting 12 bonus points to make a total of 292
That
spaces.
is correct.
Could you, for the board, talk a little bit about the agreement of overflow parking with the adjacent property?
Yes. So, as you know, that the temples celebrate major holidays, and for the anticipated people based on the building occupancy, 280 parking spaces we have provided meets the requirement. However, for any of those days when, for any reason, the number of visitors increase, and if any additional parking required, what the applicant has done is made an agreement with the adjacent site owner, which has recently got the approval for the warehouse and to construct the parking spaces which falls along the Road Hall Road. And so what they have agreed to provide a connecting point at the which will terminate at the site property line, and we have designed this connecting point to come to these parking spaces. Normal operations, these 3 parking spaces will continue to operate. They will be specially striped so that with the signs provided over there, that for normal days you can occupy those parking spaces. But major holidays, there's going to be the gate that will be open. There's going to be a chain which will be installed across this driveway. Access point will be also open, and people are, the signs will detect them not to park on those days. People will come and use these additional parking spaces. So that's the overflow parking, which the applicant has an agreement with this adjacent site owner.
Okay. Is there a specific number that has been reached in this agreement?
Not in the agreement that I am aware of.
Okay. Would it be possible to provide a copy when an agreement is reached to the planning division, just to keep on record as to how many spaces have been agreed to, how many times a year, and how would they be managed, just to have some kind of process with the planning department?
Yes, that's absolutely agreeable to us.
Thank you.
I know we provide a copy with the parking agreement. I'm not sure it speaks to the actual amount of spaces, but
Yeah,
certainly so.
because I believe it also says that at any point the owner of the adjacent land can terminate such an agreement. If in case of any of that, again, the planning division should be notified of that.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Moving on, regarding landscaping, if I may, if you could bring that other exhibit out. We would request that you work with our landscaping department, and I'm going to point out to the northern area of that parsonage building that you're proposing to add a little bit more of landscaping over there. Would you be willing to work with our landscaping department?
You are talking about this area?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Whatever, that you have a recommendation, we'll certainly try to accommodate.
Thank you. Couple of other, I think there's just a little bit of cleanup on the planting details, but again, that could be handled during the compliance. In terms of lighting that is being proposed, I know there are some bolder lightings being proposed along this unit, but overall the unit lighting of the entire temple is not being changed, right?
Nothing, all the existing light which provides, which have been installed as part of the previous approval for the parking lot, nothing is changing at this time.
One thing, again, as I was not privy to the original approval, one suggestion we would make is dimming of the lights when the temple is not in use, at least in the area, at least 50%. Is that something that you would, be agreeable to, in case, just to reduce the amount of...
Right now we are setting up at 10 o'clock every day.
Okay, all right, thank you. That was testimony enough. Fence and signage. In terms of the units, I guess I'll wait for the architect to questions on that, but nothing further,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rosenbaum?
Chairman, they've addressed most of the comments in my August 21st, 2023 review letter. They've agreed to meet any ones that they haven't as of this moment. I would just add, I got a concern about the stairwells down to the basement. Is there any drains being provided at the bottom of the stairwells to collect the rainwater?
We have not, as of what the plans have been submitted, but we will provide the required stormwater.
Well, I'm not worried about the stormwater. My concern is now flooding your basement with
We have done this soil testing. The seasonal high water and groundwater has been below the design basement floor. So not anticipating any part, if like we can provide sumps and emergency
Well,
connecting.
perhaps the architect.
And
our
architect who will be testifying next, he's probably more appropriate to handle that one.
Yes.
That's it, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions from the board?
Okay, I think
Thank
that's a
you,
good
everyone.
segue. Anything else? Okay, thank you.
I'm fine.
Now I'll bring up our architect.
Okay, we're going to swear him in.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
Would you tell us your full name and spell your last name?
My name is Zora He. Last name is He.
Thank you.
Zoda, could you give your credentials for the board, your educational background and your training and your experience, your work experience?
Yes, so I graduated from University of Pennsylvania, Master of Architecture, and now I'm a registered architect in the state of New Jersey. I work about approximately 7 or 8 years after graduation as a master. That's it.
Thank you. Accepted.
Thank you very much. Zoda, you heard some of the questions. One of the things I'd like you to, I guess we might as well tackle it right head on with regard to the drainage on the site. Could you just describe what currently is in the plans?
Yep.
And if you could do that now.
Absolutely. So obviously the staircase to the basement is below the grade. It's like the regular egress well for every house. So we will provide drains to make sure that if there's rain coming to that lower level of the staircase, it will be drained away.
I'm sorry, will be what?
Will be drained away. Will be taken care of. There won't be any flooding issues to the.
So, but you did say you provide drains at the bottom of the
Yeah.
basement staircase, correct?
Yes, the drains will be provided.
Okay. Thank you.
One of the other comments that was in the engineering's review letter dealt with the lighting plan, and it said that it does not show lighting for the rear and side portions of the proposed structure, and there are stairs located in these areas. Will we agree to revise these plans to provide lighting?
That's right.
The stairs?
Absolutely. We will provide lightings, exterior lightings, to make sure that there's illuminations for the staircases. Yes.
Okay, one of the issues that came up during the technical review committee, and I think it makes sense to address it now, is with regard to the basement. Could you just describe what the basement is proposed to be used for?
Yes, absolutely.
To describe it for the board.
So right now the basement is proposed for storage and laundry purposes for the priest only, and we have also added, per the comments of the last meeting, we have also added 2 bathrooms just for convenience reasons if people want to use them.
And this basement is for members of who live there, the priests and their families, correct?
That's correct.
And it's not intended at all or open to the public, correct?
That's correct.
And it's also not open to members of the temple, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions of our architect?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Hay, in terms of I'll begin with the basement space. Is it individually compartmentalized for each unit, or is it going to be one large common space?
It is going to be one large common space.
Okay. So in terms of the laundry room, is it would you be agreeable to providing the number of connections and everything on your floor plan just to make sure how many of those exist?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you have a typical unit size? These are all 2-bedroom units with
Yes.
2 bathrooms?
Yes. There is 2 types of unit. The square foot of each unit are around is always around 1,150 square feet, which every unit is going to be 2 bedroom, with 2 bathroom, and of course a kitchen living space.
Okay. Will there be an HVAC serving, and where would that be located? All the mechanicals of the building.
They have their independent mechanical room. I'm sorry. Could you repeat your question again?
Like the HVAC and everything, where would that be? Are these PTAC units, or how is the heating and cooling of the building?
Got it. So each unit will have their own independent HVAC system located in their utility closet.
Okay, as long as they're inside, they're not somewhere outside or.
Oh, the condenser.
Condenser?
Will be located outside.
Would you be agreeable to showing the location of that, because the board, our ordinance does require some kind of visual buffering around it if it's visible from public street?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. And last, could you just briefly talk about the facade of this parsonage as it compares to the rest of the site in terms of its compatibility, maybe materials, or what has been used?
Yes. So right now we're proposing from the wall, we're proposing the vinyl sidings the color will be matching the temple, the building, and we're also proposing the metal roof will also conform to the overall campus and the site aesthetics.
Okay. All right. Nothing further. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Rasmus, any questions?
No, nothing.
Okay, any questions?
I have a couple. Hi. I have a couple of questions. The first one is about the garbage enclosure. If 2 vehicles are parked next to each other, is there a way for somebody to get in there and remove the trash? Is there enough room? It looks like the garbage enclosure is
I think that might be better answered by our engineer.
So I don't know whether you can see, but what is shown is there is going to be, between these 2 handicap spaces, there's going to be striped access aisle, and that's coming to this depressed curb area. So that striped aisle will be used for taking the garbage out. This will be the depressed curb and going into the trash enclosure area. So it's 5 feet wide, should be enough for the trash can or any bags or anything that somebody's carrying.
So if 2 vehicles are parked there, can the garbage truck get between them?
No. So, okay. So usually this is just like the house. When the garbage truck is going to come and park here, the person will go in there and just roll out the cans and will unload it and then put it back,
Okay. My next question is about the EV parking spaces. Are they EV ready, or are you actually putting in the charging stations?
But I will have to probably, it's going to be charging station.
Actually,
yeah,
putting
so
them.
we'll have the charging stations ready.
Okay, that was it.
Anything else from the board? Thank you.
Finally, I just briefly would like to bring up our planner. Although we don't require any variances, I'd like him to just briefly explain the zoning and provide very brief planning testimony. I know it's been a long meeting.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
State your full name and spell your last name, please.
My name is Joseph J. Layton.
Last name is spelled Layton.
Mr. Layton, could you describe for the board your credentials and experience?
Sure. I'm a graduate of Rutgers College, class of 1968. I obtained my professional planner's license in 1974. Charter member of the American Institute of Certified Planners in 1976. I've testified in over 240 communities in New Jersey. I've been in Monroe Township, I would guess, between 8 and 10 times over the last 40 years. Not so much before the planning board, but most frequently before the zoning board. I think it was before the zoning board about 6 years ago on a K-Hub Indian application.
Thank you. Your credentials are accepted.
Thank you. Mr. Layton, could you just briefly describe your opinion of this proposal from a planning perspective?
Okay, as has been indicated, there are no variances required. This is in the R30 residential zone where religious uses are a conditional use. We meet all the conditions. This application is a modification of the prior approvals. It's very simple. They're going from 6 units to 12 units. I should point out I've also represented the Hindu temple in Robbinsville, New Jersey. I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's the largest one in the entire country. I think it's on 162 acres. So unlike Western religions, Hindu religions, they have many gods. Like, for instance, there's the god of the sky, god of the waters, etc. So I can understand why they would want to increase from 6 to 12, 6 priests to 12 priests. And in fact, the footprint of the building is actually shrinking a little bit. And as a result, our impervious coverage declines slightly, as the engineer has testified to. So, and from a plan perspective, if I was before the zoning board and this was a use variance, if we didn't meet the conditions, I would have to say that this site is particularly suitable for the proposed use. I mean, on one side, you have Cranberry South River Road. There are 2 vacant lots between this property and Cranberry South River Road. To the north, you have this humongous warehouse building that goes on and on and on. To the east is vacant land. On the upper side of Road Hall Road is Venue, a age-restricted development. So it's an ideal location for this type of use.
Does the board have any questions of my planner?
Mr. Rosemont, any questions? Any questions from the board? Thank you.
Thank you. That's our last witness.
Before we open up to the public, are there any further general questions of council or any of the witnesses?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, just one additional quick point, especially given the fact that we're now going to have bathrooms and laundry in the parsonage quarters. I suggest that we get a water and sewer application in because, again, fire flows will need to be calculated. We'll need to make sure that, the design is there. I know there's a lot of grease traps already installed, so it would be, prudent to go ahead and avoid any delays to get that application in so that our department can review that appropriately. Okay.
It's a great comment, and we will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone from the public wish to be heard? Hearing none, we'll close the public portion of this application. Any further discussion amongst the board? Hearing none, the application tonight is for a preliminary and a final. Does anyone like to make a motion?
I'll move it in a positive manner.
Second.
I second it.
Ms. Polidoro?
Yes.
Mr. Rothman?
Yes.
Mr. Riggs?
Yes.
Ms. Brodsky? Yes. Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Patel?
Yes.
Councilman Van Zora?
Yes.
Mayor, Mr. Patel, Mayor's representative?
Yes.
Chairman Gaffrey?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Mayor Patel.
Okay, just moving on the agenda. There's nothing on the memorialization this evening. Open up the public portion. Is there anybody from the public that wish to be heard on any topic? Hearing none, move to close the public portion.
Moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion items tonight? Hearing none. Any correspondence tonight? Hearing none, move to adjourn.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.
My favorite.